How's it going, everyone? It's David here, and welcome back to another episode of my playthrough for Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, in which I am building Wild World Adventure Park. In the last episode, I built a panda exhibit as well as a junior roller coaster called Pandemonium in the Asian or an Oriental section of the park. And in this video, we're actually going to break away a little bit from that section of the park. That's where we've been at in the past couple of episodes. But here we're actually going back to our Bazaar in the middle of the park, and I decided to build a nice big steel looping roller coaster pretty much in the center of the park. And I decided to build a big B&M Stand-Up Coaster, more specifically one that you would see built in the 1990s. I think some frame of references that I had in mind were like Mantis at Cedar Point, Chang at Kentucky Kingdom, maybe Riddler's Revenge at Magic Mountain, something along that lines. And to do this, I built the extended coaster because it's the most versatile in this game, and you could also change out the cars on this as well. So if I wanted to convert this to a floorless coaster like in real life, I can easily do that with just the push of a button. So I wanted to try to go as realistic as possible with the limitations that are known to be in this game. So for the layout, you roll out into the lift hill, and then you do a turnaround high in the air into a straight drop into a vertical loop. That's pretty standard. But then after that, I decided to do something a little different. I tried making a dive loop, and it wouldn't just quite fit what I wanted to go for. Instead, it turned almost into this like slanted dive loop, or almost like a zero-G roll, but not quite. So that second inversion is kind of like my own taste for something. It's kind of like my own thing. And then that you do this high turnaround over the brake run in the station. And then I wanted this to be a compact coaster, mainly because Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 maps are not necessarily the biggest, and I want to have more room for my park. So you go up into a true dive loop, and it's actually going to dive underneath the station, so there's going to be a lot of interaction there. And a mid-course brake run, an incline loop, some twisty sections, and ending it off with a corkscrew. So this is pretty self-explanatory. I'm just going to leave this off as I finish building the coaster and begin with the theming for this B&M Stand-Up Coaster at Wild World Adventure Park. So I will check back in a little bit later. So as I built this coaster kind of like in the Bazaar section of the park, I wanted to give it like an Indian or a Middle Eastern feel to it. So I decided to make the station for this coaster a palace. Nothing too big and nothing too flashy. After all, it is a coaster station. And I realized as I was building this, the dive loop got a little bit in the way, so it's not the most symmetrical, but you know, it just kind of makes it more profound and stands out more a little bit. Not everything is symmetrical in real life, or even in games like this. And then around that I added some columns, kind of like a little turret, some gardens, and a little figure of a guard. And I decided, since this is in the Bazaar section of the park, to call it the Maharaja, or almost like the king of the coasters, or the king of the park. I don't think this will be the biggest coaster in the park, but if you're thinking like in terms of like time frame, if this was a real life park, if this was built in the mid-90s, this would most likely be the biggest ride in the park. But I do plan on building at least one other coaster that will be larger at Wild World Adventure Park. So after a couple of tweets and finishing up the scenery, also messing around with the terrain just slightly. This is a pretty flat coaster, but more or less giving it more of a rough edge, not just the plain green grass that you have as a default for parks. I think the Maharaja B&M Stand-Up Coaster is mostly complete, and as always, if I feel like I need to change something or add something later, I could always do so later on. But that is pretty much it. So without further ado, let's take a front row POV ride on the Maharaja before I sign off. Anyways guys, what do you think of my B&M stand-up looping coaster, as well as what I've worked on at Wild World Adventure Park so far? Don't forget, I am always open to suggestions, so leave them down in the comments. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you like it and subscribe for more content. And with that being said, thank you all for riding, and I'll see you next time.